Hi, welcome to Vic and Vern Sports Chat. I'm Vic, and welcome to Across the Pond, week 2, second time the show is going to go live. So yeah, let's hope it's as good as it was the first time. We had a lot of people watching the first time. I really enjoyed doing the show, and I've prepared a few things today. I hope it's as good as last week. You guys have put me under a little bit of pressure here, As I say, under pressure. But look, now let's have a look at what we're going to talk about today, because WNBA Finals is in the book, and we have a new champion. Do we have a new dynasty in the WNBA? Then, of course, we'll have an NFL roundup. We'll talk about New York sports. As you can see in the background, New York City. But we're going to talk about the whole state of New York, about their sports legacy, all their teams. We're going to be doing that every week from now on. That's why my question out there today was, who would you like me to talk about next week? At the moment, it's Florida. Has that something got to do with Vern going on pension? I do not know. Good afternoon, Marnus. He's also in the house. Lamarki, welcome. Now, Lamarki, tell me your surname is not Ward. Because I do know a Lamarki played for me once. If your surname is, if you're Lamarki Ward, then we've got to really hook up. So, yeah. Then, of course, we'll get into that Major League Baseball, getting close to who's going to play in the World Series. The NHL has started. We'll talk a little bit about NBA, NASCAR, and college football. So a lot to talk about. I'm just making sure everything's up and running. But let's start at the beginning. Good place to start. Can't start at the end, can you? Here we go. So we'll leave the topics up there. Hey, listen here. We've hit 98,227 subscriptions. I'm going to put out a heart there. I'm going to leave that heart there. Thanks a lot. And keep it going, guys. Keep it going. So let me put that out. There's our topics. There's the heart. I forgot to switch it over there. Yeah. There you go. Hi, Eddie. Guys in the house. There you go. So those are the topics for today. So we'll work through them one by one. Don't forget, guys, we are on our way to 100,000. So keep on liking and subscribing. And do share the channel with all your friends and family. Then, are you doing the EuroLeague basketball tonight? Vern is doing the EuroLeague basketball tonight. I will get into the chat a little bit later, because now that I run through this show. But if you guys have any, let's put it like that. I gotta do it like that. There you go. There's that. I've got to concentrate on the show now, Marnus. I've got to concentrate on the show. There you go. And if you'd like to email us, that's on top of the screen right now as well. So please do that. There we go. So I'm going to get ready now. Let's start off. We're going to start off with the ladies, obviously. We'll take the email away. I'll put it back later again. Let's start off with the WNBA. And look, it was a clean sweep. Get the broom out. The Aces swept the Mercury 4-0. That's the third title for the Aces in 4 years. So I consider that to be a dynasty if you get 3 out of 4 years. Very dominant. And look, they've got the most dominant player in the league with Asia Wilson. Once again, she picked up the finals MVP. But look, it was all about her and her teammates. There you go. Champions once again, the Las Vegas Aces. So the only team from Las Vegas. Oh no, Golden Knights. So Vegas starting to become a real sporting city. Not just gambling. Now they're going to do the sports as well. There you go. Good. Well done. So here's our MVP. That beautiful pink hair, Asia Wilson. Look, she's the most dominant force in the NBA. Yes, the most popular and loved force is obviously Caitlin Clark, but Asia definitely is on a different level when it comes to playing. And she's done very well there for her Las Vegas Aces. Then let's have a look. These are the champions of the last few years. All started off in 1997, the league. So those are the champions for the first few years. You had the Houston Comets. They're not around anymore. Then the Sparks, the Detroit Shock, 101, the Seattle Storm, the Sacramento Monarchs, also not around anymore. Then Phoenix Mercury have won titles. And then of late, we'll put that on there now, and of late, there you go. As you can see in the last 4 years at the bottom there, the Vegas Aces have won 3 out of 4. Last year it was the Liberty. We'll talk about them afterwards when we talk about New York. So yeah, it's moving on. The WNBA is definitely moving on. But and at the moment in the WNBA, season is over. But there's other stuff going on. They've got the collective bargaining agreement, the CBA, that is going on. That means the league, the players, the owners are all discussing on how the next few years is going to be. It normally always happens when the TV deal runs out. The players have come out and said they want more money. What's new? Players always want more money. But the league has not made a profit since 1997. It's actually been subsidized by the NBA. So let's see how they negotiate that. Worst comes to worst, could be a lockout, no season. That has happened in other American sports. So let's hope. I don't hope that for the ladies, because the WNBA has been, it's taking off slowly but surely. And it would be bad if they kind of tank it and don't come to an agreement. So let's see what happens there. But that is your women's basketball. Once again, congratulations to the Las Vegas Aces. Then we move into the NFL, and those were the results of the week. Some crazy results. And I mean, no one saw look, the 49ers lost to the Buccaneers. The Ravens lose again. The Bills lost to the Falcons. Didn't expect that one to happen. My Patriots are doing well, 4-2. So yeah, it's looking good. It is looking fantastic. The Broncos and the Jets played a terrible game, but somebody had to win, and it was the Broncos, because the Jets can't win a football game if their lives depend on it. The Eagles slumped to the Giants in a fantastic Thursday night game. So that is your roundup from last week. We'll get into this week. There was the first sacking of a coach, and it was Brian Callahan. He got sacked from the Tennessee Titans. So he's the first coach to lose his job this season. I think there'll be many more to come. Miami got to be careful there. Baltimore. Yeah, there's some teams. Dallas, you never know. Yeah, it's not looking good for some teams. So Brian Callahan did lose his game. He lost his job. His game wasn't good either. Let's have a look at the standings quickly. We'll go through them. There you go. We'll start off at the AFC East, of course. And surprise, surprise, my Patriots are on top. I'm looking forward to seeing them play again this weekend. They are 4-2, as well as the Bills, both looking good for a playoff spot. Then in the North, the Pittsburgh are 4-1, and the other teams are just not very good at the moment. If we move over to the AFC South, Indianapolis Colts, very good this season, 5-1. Jacksonville, 4-2, still very much in the hunt. So is the LA Chargers and the Denver Broncos. Kansas City have moved to 3-3. Kansas City going to make the playoffs. I can't see them not making the playoffs. Vegas got a nice win this weekend, but it's not going to be enough. And they do face the Kansas City Chiefs this week. So that's going to be a tough one. Then we move into the NFC. Check that out. The Eagles are 4-2. Of course, I have a crush on the Patriots, my favorite team. The Commanders are 3-3. The Commanders and the Cowboys go off it this weekend. Then you have the Green Bay Packers at 3-1. The Detroit Lions at 4-2. So, yeah, all to play for. We've had a third of the NFL seasons already in the books. Then, of course, I'm still dreaming of this final. Patriots against Buccaneers would be my dream final. Tampa Bay on top there. Atlanta with a good win on the weekend. So they're moving up the table. San Francisco, Seattle, that is a very tight division there. The only team that's a little bit dropped off there is Arizona in the NFC West. So yeah, those are your standings. Let's have a quick look at the playoff pictures. We'll start in the AFC. And there you go. Top 7 teams of each division make the playoffs. So at the moment, the Colts, the Steelers, the Chargers, the Patriots, the Bills, the Jaguars, and the Broncos would be in Kansas City just outside the playoffs. I can't see Kansas City and Texas still moving up there. Don't know about the Ravens anymore. 1-5 is a tough hole to get out of. Then we look at the NFC playoff picture there, and look here, the Buccaneers out in front, looking good. All goes all the way down to the 7th Raiders. Who do I see still coming into the playoffs from the other teams at the bottom? Can the Cowboys still do something? The Bears, the Vikings, we'll see. But it's going to be very, very interesting going forward. Then we look into week 7 of the NFL. And the games in red are going to be live on this channel. So tomorrow night we're going to have the Steelers at the Bengals live here with me, 2 o'clock in the morning. And on Monday morning, we're going to have the Buccaneers against the Lions. The rest of the weekend, I do not know. Maybe there's another game coming up. I will let you know in the morning shows, or Vern will tell you what I'm doing. Don't worry. But look, what games are we looking forward to in this weekend? Which ones are the top? Obviously, Buccaneers, Lions is the big one. Texans, Seahawks is another good game. otherwise, yeah, look, it's a lot of good teams playing against a lot of bad teams, you know. So Eagles Vikings could be a tough one. And I do think that Commanders Cowboys game should have something special. But that's our roundup for the NFL. So that's in the book. Now we get to a new segment of the show. I'm going to try to every week introduce a state, not a city, a state. You know, California, New York, Florida, whatever. So this week I decided it will be New York because we do have New York in the background. So it's the state of New York. Where is the state of New York in America? A lot of people just think it's, you know, New York City. No, no. You have upstate New York where you have Buffalo, Albany, which is the capital. We'll get into that. That's where New York state is on the map of the US. Obviously, Alaska is also still somewhere over there. But we're not doing, and Hawaii is also still on there. But we're not doing them because they don't have any professional sports teams. Like I mentioned, the capital of New York State is Albany. Up there, that is the capital of the state. New York has 19 million people, roughly between 19 and 20 million people living there. So yeah, the biggest city is obviously New York City with Manhattan and all the boroughs like the Bronx and Brooklyn, all that stuff. They have about 8.5 people alone in New York City. Talking about New York City, there it goes, the beautiful, I didn't put out Albany. Let me first put out Albany, you guys. I've got to remind you of putting out Albany there. There you go. So that's Albany, and I think I didn't put out the map. I didn't go over there either. So let me have a quick look there. There you go. That's where New York is there in that red part. That's the state of New York. Then let's have a look at New York City, the Big Apple. Shout out to the boys from the Big Apple. Let me just read. Yeah, hi, Patrick. There you go. And of course, the most iconic thing from New York is definitely the Statue of Liberty there on Staten Island. And yeah, so if you've never been to New York, go and visit it. Fantastic state. Now let's get into the sports teams that are in New York, and we're going to start off with the most iconic sports franchise I think in the world, and that is obviously the New York Yankees. There you go. Yankees, most iconic thing. Yeah, I mean they've had so many good sports people coming out of there. The Yankees definitely. I mean, you cannot get past Babe Ruth. The legend that's Babe Ruth came from the Yankees. You had, of course, in the new times, it's Derek Jeter there as well. And then, of course, these days we'll get to the young pretenders afterwards to these big franchises. We'll get to them afterwards. Then, of course, and hey, I'm going to run down it while I'm talking about. The Yankees have won 27 Major League World Series. They've won 27 World Series. So the most decorated franchise in U.S. sports. Then there are the other team that plays baseball in New York, the Mets. The Yankees are not in the NFL, my friend. The Yankees are in the Major League Baseball. Get your American sports right. The Mets have also won a World Series. So yeah, that's the two baseball franchises in New York. Then we move on to the Knicks, the New York Knicks. And yeah, iconic basketball franchise there. I mean, look, they have won 2 titles in their career, but it's been a long time gone. 1970, 71, I think the year that I was born, that was the last time New York won something. I mean, for me, I took Patrick Ewing. I just thought he's an iconic player for the Knicks. Then, of course, you have the Nets, also out of Brooklyn, out of New York, the Brooklyn Nets. They've won 2 NBA titles in their history. They used to be the New Jersey Nets, but it's 2. Everybody's doing well. The Yankees are out, man. The Yankees are out. They lost in the quarterfinals. Then we'll stick with the basketball. And, of course, we have the New York Liberty, the ladies team. And they did win the title last year. They've been to the finals 5 times. They've won 1 title. So the New York Liberty flying the basketball flag at the moment for the state of New York, because the other teams are not that very good at the moment. Then we move on to the football teams. And, of course, you have your New York Giants. Giants have won 4 Super Bowls already. And I mean, their most iconic player for the Giants, in my eyes, Lawrence Taylor. You might recognize the guy's face even if you're not a football fan. He has played in a few movies, Lawrence Taylor. If you ever watch that football movie, Any Given Sunday, with Al Pacino, Lawrence Taylor is his assistant coach. What an iconic player. Then, of course, the Jets. The Jets have won a title. They suck now, but the Jets have won one Super Bowl. They won that when this man was still playing. Joe Namath, Hollywood Joe there. I mean, the man's iconic. So, then there's the third team that plays football in New York State, and that is the Buffalo Bills. I mean, the Buffalo Bills are the only team to make 4 Super Bowls in a row, and they lost all 4. But they had a fantastic team. I actually got to go watch them in that era. And look, I mean, Jim Kelly, rest in peace. Their quarterback was their Thurman Thomas. I mean, they had a fantastic team that just 4 years in a row they made the Super Bowl. They couldn't get over the hump. Then, of course, in New York State, you have ice hockey, and you have 3 teams there. You have the New York Islanders. The Islanders have won 4 NHL trophies, the 4 Stanley Cups. Then, of course, you have the Rangers. The Rangers have also won 4. So, in ice hockey, they are very competitive. The main man for me, Mark Messier. What an iconic hockey player. Along with Wayne Gretzky, one of my favorite hockey players. Mark Messier obviously played for the Rangers. Then the third team that you have there in state of New York that plays ice hockey are the Buffalo Sabres. Also a very good franchise. Have never won a Stanley Cup. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. Then we just move on to the last 2 teams, that professional sports teams that are in New York out of the Big 5 leagues. And that is the Red Bull New York Football Club. Yeah, look, the Red Bull have been to 2 finals, but they've never won the MLS trophy. Not like their neighbors, the New York City Football Club. As you can see, it's very much belongs to Manchester City, the same group. They have won the championship once, so congratulations to them. So that's a little bit about New York. Now I want to tell you just quickly about the up-and-coming stars that you have in New York City. I mean, if you're a New York sports fan, these guys are all names for you. Of course, at the Knicks, you have Jalen Brunson. Then at the Yankees, of course, you're not getting past Aaron Judge. For the Mets, this man is good, Juan Soto. And I took somebody in football, and I had to take somebody because they're not that very good, all of them at the moment. But I think Josh Allen's maybe the best football player out of the state of New York at the moment. Maybe Jackson Dart can do something about that. But that is kind of your roundup for New York. And if this poll keeps up like that, it looks like we're going to do Florida next week. So we'll see about Florida, of course. Got good football. You got the reigning NHL champion Panthers in Florida. You got the Miami Heat. You got the Orlando Magic. So looks like it's going to be Florida next week. Then we've got to talk about the World Series in baseball. And here we go. This is the stand at the moment. Those are the last games that they've played. At the moment, the Mariners are up 1-0 against the Blue Jays, and the Dodgers have taken a 2-0 lead against the Brewers. So the big question is who's making to the World Series? I'm going out on a limb here. I'm still going to go Blue Jays, Dodgers in the World Series. So can the World Series go to Canada this year? That is the big question. Then got to talk about the NHL as well. There you go. Those are the games from last night. I'm not going to rattle through all of them. You can just check them out yourselves. If you've watched our morning show, you did see them there. That is the NHL for this morning. And let's have a look at the standings. The way too early standings, because most teams have played around 3 or 4 games. But in the Western Conference, the Colorado Avalanche, on top there, they've won 3 out of 4. And the Golden Knights have also done really well in the Pacific Division. Way too early. I mean, they're going to get to play 82 games, so let's see what happens there. But that is your NHL, the Western Conference. Let's have a look at the Eastern Conference quickly. And in the Eastern Conference, the reigning champion Panthers are ahead of the Atlantic Division, and in the Metropolitan Division, it's the Carolina Hurricanes. You know, when I grew up, there weren't teams like the Florida Panthers, the Phoenix Coyotes, it has changed. It has changed. There's a lot of the Hartford Whalers, I remember. They have disappeared. And it's become a very much all-round sport in the US. It's funny, you go to Las Vegas at 40 degrees and they're playing ice hockey, Then let's have the NBA. Here we go, the NBA. The NBA starts next week. So our next week's show will be a big preview on the NBA. I'll be inviting Vern to that show because we're going to give our predictions, who's going to win the NBA season. So next week, I don't even know if I should do it on this show, if I should do a separate NBA show. We'll talk about it later, me and Vern, don't worry. But big NBA week next Wednesday, 22nd, it all starts, and the first game of the season will be live on the channel with me. Then, I don't know if Lawrence Taylor was in the NFL movie, The New Game. I'm not sure about that. Then we're moving to NASCAR quickly. And, NASCAR this weekend. And Danny Hamlin won that race ahead of Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell. So, yeah, it's hotting up there in the NASCAR because if you look at the standings, and I'll put them out there, there's only 8 drivers that can still win the championship. And you've got to qualify for that last round, which is in, I think, in Florida again this year, in Homestead. But we'll see about that. But at the moment, it's Hamlin, Larson, Bell, and Briscoe that would be in the last round of the playoffs. But there are still 2 races to go. And the next race is the big one, ladies and gentlemen. The next one is the big one. And that one is in, I'm going to hide my face somewhere. It's in Talladega, baby. The biggest speedway, the fastest speedway in North America. Let's put out another nice picture. Massive crowds there. Talladega. I've got to try to see if I can watch this race on the weekend. It's a phenomenal race there in Talladega. There's always the big one, the big accident there. When you have like 56 cars bumper to bumper doing 330, 340 kilometers an hour on that oval, it's iconic. That's a place I do need to go to in my lifetime, to Talladega. A lot of movies been made about the Talladega Nights and stuff like that. There you go. Then let's have a look at the college rankings quickly. College rankings is very difficult to predict because it is a poll. It gets voted on by the Associated Press, and there's also the coaches poll because not all the teams play against each other, so it's all about strength of opponent, strength of depth, all that stuff. But that is at the moment your standings, and Ohio State is leading the pack. The top 8 teams do make the playoffs. But I'm going to give you some results from the weekend. And let me just move a little bit closer. So Oklahoma, the Sooners, they lost to the Texas Longhorns 23-6. Alabama Crimson Tide beat Missouri 27-24. Arkansas Razorbacks lost to the Tennessee 34-31. Virginia Tech lost to Georgia Tech, 35-20. Then there's a few games there. Let me just get that. There you go. Did I copy it? There you go. Well, no, I'll just put the third one on. There you go. I'm not doing all the games. Texas A&M beat Florida State. The Gators lost 34-17. The Texas Tech Raiders beat the Kansas 42-17. Texas Tech, very surprising team this year. Then the Auburn Tigers lost to the Georgia Bulldogs 20-10. The South Carolina Gamecocks lost to the LSU Tigers 20-10. So that's it. I got one more. There's some more results coming out there. Don't worry. Michigan's Wolverines lost to the USC Trojans 31-13. BYU beat Arizona 33-27, and Utah beat Arizona State 42-10. So that's your lineups and your games and your everything in the North American sport. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Listen here, remember, let me put that out there one more time quickly. The email address, if you have anything you'd like to share with us or any comments or maybe things you would like me to add to the show, there's the email. Check that out. Give me a quick holler per email. Just in your email, in the title, use the word ATP, across the pond, and not the tennis ATP, across the pond. Tell me, Vic, add this. Maybe you want me to add in the IndyCar information, or you like lacrosse, or you like college basketball. That is coming up. It's not really started yet, the college basketball season. So we'll get into that. There's a lot of things to get into there. So I'll leave that out there for the moment at the email. Don't forget, tomorrow morning is the Daily Sports Update Show at 7 o'clock every morning. If you want all your sports highlights and all your sports scores of the last 24 hours, that's the show to watch because we only do this show once a week. Then a little bit later, don't forget, Vern is doing, I can't remember the game, but Vern is doing a basketball game tonight. I think it's Villeban against Partizan Belgrade. So check that one out. But thanks for joining me, and thanks for all the support. Love it, for all the votes. So it's going to be Florida next week. Let me write that down, because next week is next week. So it is Florida next week. So we can be looking forward to the Miami Dolphins and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Damn, they got three NFL teams in there. They got Florida Panthers. Good, man. It's going to be good. So check it out. Thanks for the support. See you guys later, and have a great day. And I'm signing out here from across the pond. Ciao, ciao.